So, good morning. This is Dr. Nisha Manish, Meerut College, Meerut. And today we will discuss some topics related with the core data. And this is e-study material for BSc second year. So, the topic is the general characters and classification of Urochordata. This is the topic of today, and we will start with the Urochordata. As we all know that Chordata is a very big phylum, vertebrate phylum, and it is itself has a full paper in our syllabus of BSc second year. So we have discussed all the general characters of phylum Chordata, and now today we will only confine to the subphylum, one of the subphylum of the big Chordata, that is known as the Urochordata. So today we will go for general characters and classification of Urochordata. Let us start with the general characters. Now the first is, as we all know, the first, always the first character is associated with the habit and habitat. So you can see they are exclusively marine and commonly known as sea squids. Sea squids, because they squids or squeeze the water time to time whenever required for defense purposes and other. So they are commonly known as the sea squids. They are solitary or colonial. They may be found in a colony, or they are solitary or alone. They may be fixed or free swimming. They are pelagic. They are not very deep. They are not present very deep in the sea. They are pelagic. Now, the very special, the body is covered with tunic or test. Tunic or test is a covering that is composed of a cellulose-like substance. That substance is known as the tunicin. That's why the urochordates, commonly known as tunicates. Now come to the body. The body bears two openings. If you see the opening on the body, there are two openings on the body. An anterior one is known as the branchial opening or the aperture, and the dorsal is known as the atrial aperture. Now, notochord. Notochord is a very important structure when we talk about the chordata. We know the presence of dorsal tubular nerve cord, notochord, and pharyngeal gill slits are the three main distinguishing characters as far as phylum, this big phylum chordata is concerned. So here also, because it is a subphylum, the Urochordata is a subphylum of big phylum Chordata. So here notochord is present, but notochord is only present in the larval stages, and later on it becomes degenerated. This is the main character of the Urochordate. Now come to the coelom. We all know that coelom is a true body cavity in higher vertebrates, or in some higher, it starts from the higher invertebrate and the vertebrate. But here you can see the coelom is absent, and instead there present a body cavity that is known as the atrium, that is lined by the ectoderm. There is a difference between the coelomic cavity and the atrial cavity, as the atrium lined by the ectoderm, but the coelom lined by the mesoderm. We all know, and we must know. Now come to the pharynx. Pharynx, there is numerous gill. There may be numerous gill slits or maybe one pair of gill slits. So pharynx with one pair to numerous gill slits. There is a spatial structure that is like a groove with the row of the cilia that is present in the body, that is known as the endostyle in case of urochordates. And we will later on talk when we see the alimentary canal or the digestive system, then we will discuss this structure endostyle. A question of 2 marks may come on the as a short note on this endostyle. Now, what is the mode of feeding? The mode of feeding is ciliary mode of feeding. The cilia, the water enters through the aperture or the branchial aperture with the food particles, and cilia help to move the food particles as a cord in the alimentary canal. Now the respiration is by gill slits and test. Test is a outer covering, just we have discussed. The test or tunicin is the outer covering, which has a number of ampullae on the surface of the test. They help in the exchange of this oxygen and carbon dioxide, and so that it also works or functions as accessory respiratory organ. Now come to the nerve cord. A dorsal tubular nerve cord is only present in larval forms, which becomes degenerated in adult forms. It just become to reduce as a small ganglion. Next, as far as blood vascular system is concerned, the blood vascular system is an open type of blood vascular system with a ventral tubular heart. What is the open blood vascular system? There are two types mainly of this blood vascular system. One is closed type, when the blood flows in the closed vessels like arteries and veins. In our case also, and in the higher vertebrates and the some higher invertebrates. But here you can see the blood vascular system is open. When blood is directly in contact with the tissues and it flows in the blood channels or the open spaces or the lacunae. So this type of blood vascular system is known as the open blood vascular system. Now, blood is devoid of respiratory pigment. There is no respiratory pigment like us, like in other invertebrate also, arthropods also, hemocyanin, and in our case, it is the hemoglobin. So there is no such type of respiratory pigment found in the urochordates. Now come to the excretory organs. The excretory organs are neural gland, pyloric gland, and nephrocytes. We will later on also discuss. The neural gland is one more thing. The neural gland is uh, considered as the homologous organ of the pituitary gland of vertebrates. Now, these are the hermaphrodite, means male and female sex organs are present only in the one individual. The fertilization is external and there is a cross fertilization. Now, development is indirect with a tadpole larva. We know that the development is of two types. It may be the direct development without having some larval stages, or it may be the indirect development. Like in this case, there is the indirect development with a larva that is known as the tadpole larva. Now come to the classification. Now classification is, if you see, the Urochordata is divided into three classes: Larvaceae, Acidiaceae, and Thaliaceae. Again, we can see these include the orders. Larvaceae has two orders, Endostylophora and Polystylophora. Like this, Acidiaceae also has two orders, Enterogona and Pleurogona. The Thaliaceae has three orders. One is the Pyrosomida, Doliolida, and Salpida. You can see later. So we will see some characters of the three classes of Urochordata: Larvaceae, Acidiaceae, and Thaliaceae, the three classes, and we can go through some characters, important characters. In case of Larvaceae, they are small, free swimming, and pelagic. Neotenic, this is a term that is related when larva develops some advanced character. This type of process or phenomenon is known as the neoteny. It is very prominent in case of amphibians, and we will see when we talk about amphibians. So small, free swimming, pelagic, neotenic, adult with larval characters. Just I have told you the neoteny. So this is what the adult with the larval characters. If we see ACDAC, you can see in case of ACDAC, they are fixed or free swimming. Here, Thaliaceae also free swimming and pelagic. If we talk about the test or tunicin, the outer covering of the body is temporary, single pair of gill slits which opens outside. In case of ACDAC, the test is permanent and gill slits are numerous. In case of Thaliaceae, a thin, transparent, permanent test is present with circular muscles. They are hermaphrodite. Ascidians are also hermaphrodite. Thaliaceae also hermaphrodite. Now come to the metamorphosis. There is no metamorphosis as larva present, and larva develops some characters or adult with larval characters, whatever you can say. Tadpole larva with retrogressive metamorphosis in case of ascidians. What is retrogressive metamorphosis? Retrogressive metamorphosis is the metamorphosis in which larva retains or larva does not transform in an adult with the advanced character. However, the adult will uh, be with the some degenerated characters. So this type of metamorphosis, instead of uh, uh, progressive metamorphosis, this type of metamorphosis is known as the retrogressive metamorphosis. Progressive metamorphosis is the metamorphosis when tadpole larva transform or any larva transform into the adult with some advanced character. But here in retrogressive metamorphosis, the larva develops the transform into an adult with the degenerated characters. So this type of metamorphosis is known as the retrogressive metamorphosis, and it is the characteristic feature of ACDAC. Now, in case of Thaliaceae, the life cycle is with the alternation of generation. Means the life cycle has the alternative forms of an individual, the two forms of an individual. So this is known as the alternation of generation. Now Larvaceae. We will see now the orders, Endostylophora and Polystylophora. The Larvaceae has, the class Larvaceae has two orders. One is the Endostylophora and Polystylophora. Now, what is Endostylophora? They are bilateral symmetrical with two separate openings. They are also bilateral symmetrical with single opening. This is the difference. Now, pharynx with endostyle, I just told you about the endostyle. Here, pharynx with endostyle, but endostyle with 4 longitudinal ciliated rows. Now, the example. The example of these two is Kovalevska. You can see Kovalevskia, and here is Larvaceae oikopleura. You cannot see here due to this bar. So oikopleura. Now come to the ACDAC. ACDAC, the two orders Enterogona and Pleurogona. Enterogona and Pleurogona. Here, if we see in Enterogona, enteron, you can see the prefix entero. Enteron is related to the developing alimentary canal or the intestine. Pleuro means many. So here we can, and gona, gonads. Here also gonads. So enterogona is somehow related with the gonads, which is in close association with the intestine or whatever. So we can see Here, the body may be divided into head and thorax. Body is compact, not body division is there. Now, neural gland ventral to the nerve ganglion. Here, in case of pleurogona, neural gland dorsal or lateral to the nerve ganglion. Now, single gonad. Just I have told the enterogone. Single gonad lying in intestinal loop. That's why I think that the order's name is enterogona. Here, gonads embedded, not single. Here, more than single gonads are there and they are embedded in the wall of mental. Mental is a body cavity, body wall. So wall of mental, otoliths and ocelli present in the larva. Eye spot or ocelli present in the larva. Here larva with otolith but no separate eye or ocelli is present. Here the example is Acidia and Sayona. And here the Pleurogona has the example of Herdmania and Botrytis. Now next, the last class, Theliaceae. Theliaceae has three classes, that is Pyrosomida, Doliolida and Salpida. Pyrosomida, Doliolida and Salpida. Theliaceae class has three orders, Pyrosomida, Doliolida and Salpida. Come to know free swimming, colonial, free swimming, pelagic. Again, salpids also free swimming and pelagic. Colony closed at one end. They are colonial and the colony closed at the one end, and zoids. The individual of the colony is known as zoids, and all zoids of the colony are embedded in a common test. Here, the body is cask shaped. Body is cask shaped with branchial and atrial aperture at the opposite end of the body. Body is fusiform with branchial and atrial aperture at opposite end of the body. Here muscle band incomplete. The muscle bands are incomplete. Here muscles bands are complete. You can see muscles band are complete. Here muscles band are incomplete. And here muscles bands are again incomplete. There's no complete muscle band. So this is all about the phylum, subphylum Urochordata and the three classes of this subphylum with all the orders. Now this is a time to introduce the different individual related to this phylum Urochordata. So let us introduce what this says. This is the pyrosoma, just we have learned about, we have given the example also. I am a Urochordate. I belong to the class Theliaceae. My order is Pyrosomida and I am Pyrosoma. I am a Urochordate. I belong to class Theliaceae again. My order is Doliolida. As you know, the suffix dolly, prefix dolly. So the name is also, the name of individual is also just derived from this order. So my order is Doliolida and I am Doliolum. Now I am again a Urochordate. I belong to class Theliaceae. My order is Salpida and I am Salpa. I am Urochordate. I belong to class Acidiaceae. My order is Pleurogona and I am Herdmania with two apertures anteriorly, and this is the dorsal side. Anterior aperture is known as the branchial aperture and the posterior is, or the dorsal rather, is known as the atrial aperture. And the references, all the text I have taken from a textbook of zoology vertebrate by R.L. Kotpal, Corded Zoology by E.L. Jordan and P.S. Verma. And figures and diagrams I have taken for this study material is from Google search. Thank you.